One of the hardest parts of being a leader is uniting a team with varied temperaments, personalities, and work styles. In addition to that is the difficulty of managing their motivation towards the work in the organization. My name is Aaron. I'm a student leader, a college kid, and most of all, a highly stressed out student just like you.
I cannot stress enough the importance of really getting ideas and even picking the brains of fellow leaders. Thankfully, we're gonna hear more from our guests, Gab and Georgina, as we talk about dealing with diversity and boosting team morale. This episode is a continuation of our topic, building your team up. Again, this is JR, and thank you for tuning in to Ain't a Boss.
In recent years, this has been really a focal point of pretty much every organization that we want people to be authentic. We want people to be real, be proud of the diverse backgrounds, and find a common ground where you can contribute to a vision. In the case of leaders, that vision would be service. So maybe my next question for maybe we can ask Gab this time around first. Um, how do you see diversity in terms of your organization? Since you said it's centered towards management students. So how do you actually see diversity, different backgrounds within the management course or the management organization, and how do you deal with those
Yeah.
differences, and how do you reconcile them?
Well, if I may speak maybe from a top view, for actually current executive board in terms of diversity, I'm the only guy.
Wow.
So yeah, we're eight in the executive board, and I'm the only guy. Also in amongst the presidents in the business cluster,
Mhm.
I'm also the only guy. So the future is indeed female, as they
Uh-huh.
would tell me.
Yeah.
But is
And
is that is that just now, or it's been a trend in the past few years?
actually, in the last year, the president was a guy as well, but all
Okay.
his VPs were also all girls.
Okay. So it's coming around like
It is
uh,
coming around,
uh
and it's actually very nice because
Yeah.
coming from an all boys school,
mhm.
barring
Right.
senior high and college,
Yeah.
it I usually worked with all boys, and even in senior high, the number of girls in our school wasn't that much, and I
Right.
wasn't
Right.
in groups like
Mhm.
the girl groups
Yeah.
naman because they stuck together rather. And then
Yeah.
in college, more or less the same. So it was
Yeah.
actually very scary for me nung una. I
Oh.
was like, okay, I have to. There are like certain like I guess norms that I have to follow.
Yeah.
And
So,
break down stereotypes, I guess, no?
yeah,
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
indeed. But it was actually not as bad as you think.
Mhm.
I think for me, the key in handling diversity was not seeing them, these people that I'm with, be it in the executive board or the rest of our stakeholders, which I'm sure is a better mix of boys and girls. Seeing them not as
Yeah.
for our differences, but
Yep.
for our similarities and
Mhm.
where we come
That's nice.
together.
Yeah.
And yun, I realized that given that I've been a president for quite a while now, there are a lot of things that I proposed that they were like not super okay with, but
Yeah.
it's more of establishing a culture of openness
Yep.
and being okay with that, and then finding that common ground. And that also stands for not just executive board discussions, but also discussions with admin, like specifically my program director and
Right.
the other departments who are working on our academics that we have, as well as talking with just basic, like not on base but like regular management
Mhm.
honors
Right.
student. And I think I'm in a unique position wherein I can understand both sides, and
Yeah.
it's all about trying to find the best middle ground wherein the most amount of people can win. And then something that I picked up is you also have, there are some decisions that you make that there will really be a minority that will not
Right.
accept what you
Yeah.
did.
For sure.
So what I have done personally is we have to have a plan for that, like taking care of them and making them understand that even though the decision that we made was not in favor of what they
Right.
Mhm.
did, they're heard.
Yep.
And an example I would say for this is actually with the admin and then the students. Like the students were vying for uh please let us be allowed to change groups and
Yeah.
Mhm.
change pivot our business, because for thesis in management are
Yeah.
we're supposed to create an online business. And admin, not, I don't mean admin like at the highest, but like admin, the
Yeah.
professors,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
in
Right. Right.
our leadership and strategy department, they did not want people to change groups and thesis because they said that's not how it works in the real world. Like
Mhm.
you don't always get to choose who you're with or
Right.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was very nice that they listened, and
Yeah.
it was through dialogue of actually showing up and representing the student body, showing that we cared about what we did, that I think was the reason why they were able to accommodate us.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a time in my experience of leading that I can relate to that, Gab. The idea of like building consensus, because I thought that consensus, like everybody should say yes, but I realized that consensus is just really 100% support, but it can actually just be 70% agreement.
Yeah.
And there's a way for people to still like disagree with you but still get their support, and I think that's very much what you're saying. And I had to learn that the hard way. I'm not gonna share my experience here anymore, but yeah, like blood, sweat, and tears. But good on you. Thanks for sharing that.
We have a lot of officers, elected officers. So I have my vice presidents, the treasurer, the secretary. Then we have the college presidents and the batch government. So, um, the it's distributed in a sense that the handling diversity part. So, I get to listen to a lot of stories, cuentos every single day about what's happening in orgs, in classrooms. So I get a lot of what we call chichi in
Hey, we use that
Same
term. We use that
here.
term. Chichi.
Chichi
so
time.
yeah, I get to listen to a lot of people talk about very different things. And in handling diversity, I guess it's more of understanding where they're coming from, their different backgrounds, where they come from, what are their orgs, who the people they interact with are. So I don't want to call it handling diversity, but actually like being besties with diversity. So diversity will always be there. Actually, we welcome diversity in the USG. We really encourage it, and diversity is something that I I put a premium on. Honestly, I recently we just had the deliberations for who will we will be accepting into the office of the president, and I personally like went through each name, each person who applied, and it really mattered talaga. Like one big thing in my personal criteria was that these are people who come from different backgrounds. Better if they don't even know each other, because they get to build relationships. They get to build relationships. They meet new friends, and with you bringing people in together like that, then you're essentially cultivating an environment where there's deeper understanding and empathy with where people are coming from and what their situations are. So, diversity in a sense, you really have to welcome it, encourage it, cultivate it in your organization, in your government, in your council, because that's where it starts. That's where understanding starts. That's where discussions start, where conversations happen, and where we build relationships that will last for a very long time. because you get to see new perspectives, you get to understand why people think the way they do or why people act the way they act. So yeah, diversity is really good, and I hope that it's something I can continue cultivating in the USG even after I'm not president anymore.
Don't be
We'll be
afraid
rooting
of
for
it.
that, Georgina.
Yeah. Especially like with organization, I guess, like you need to represent everybody. So the more diverse your team is, the more it will actually help you guys do that. But even personally, I'm even like learning how to like, okay, I shouldn't just be sticking with people that who think alike, who think like me, because like it's also not gonna be good for me in terms of growth, and even in terms of like not seeing the things that that I should be seeing.
Yeah.
So
Well, I had a benchmark of who I when I was organizing my office structure. I really said to my chief of staff and chief operating officer, I really need my office to have like people from each college that we have, and then different batches. So actually, my chief of staff and chief operating officer, they're both younger than me. And I think it's something that I want to build kasi in my office. Even if you're, young, even if you're coming from a different college. Well, I come from the College of Business, the biggest, one of the biggest colleges in DLSU. Yes. So when you're bringing these people together, my goal really is when you're in the office of the president, you get to grow. And it's more of what I can do for you than what you can do for me. Yeah.
Okay, so if I got anything from what Georgina said, and I think Gab also touched upon this, if there's anything you should do with diversity, more than just handling it, you have to be best friends with it.
besties.
Inculcate it within, inculcate such a big word, but cascade it towards your members, and I believe that creates a chain reaction once everyone
Yeah.
sees the value of that, of representation, and of just getting ideas from different backgrounds. It goes a long way. But moving on from that, I think I have one more specific area that I'm curious to learn about how Georgina and Gab handle or see in their organization. And this is more on maybe a technical side, maybe can be also on the personal side as well. But this is on the area of motivation and performance. So we've been talking earlier about how organization background is, how organizational culture is. I think this is an area where we can say more personal things or siguro to form that into a question, JR, for both Georgina and Gab. How do you motivate? How do you see motivation being an integral part of your organization? Are there any ways or are there any mechanisms siguro in place where you can motivate them personally or from a corporal or from a corporate standpoint? And then how does that transition translate into performance, or how does that motivation either improve or sana naman hindi but limit the performance of the organization? So yeah, maybe
But
Georgina.
of course, by definition, clarify ko lang, Aaron.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, you're motivating people to perform.
Yeah,
you don't
for
wanna
sure.
you don't wanna motivate them to underperform.
Yeah,
naman.
yeah.
So, but I
Thanks
think
for that.
I think from what you're saying, there are things about what we do that sometimes we think that we're motivating them, but it's actually
Yeah.
not helping them. Then in that case, it's not really motivation, or
Yeah.
you're really not motivating, but somehow maybe you're flattering or you're actually not being true to
Yeah.
them. But that's a different topic. So
Yeah.
but I know what you mean. So just to
I guess the
clarify
better,
that.
yeah, just to put those into words, I guess the better question here for Georgina first. How do you see motivation in your organization? How do you motivate people to perform well? And what's the value of that, of what you're doing?
Well, motivation. I guess. Well, personal experience. When you're president and leading up to the presidency, you give a lot of motivational talks. Like
a lot talaga.
Rah,
So,
rah, rah.
Let's
So,
do this.
you talk
To your executive board, like we've made it a tradition for my executive board to meet once a week with na kami lang, so that we get to talk about our feelings, if we've been feeling down, what our office is like. So from these experiences, when motivation comes into play, really for me, when it comes to listening to them. So, two points, I guess. One being really personal, understanding what they're going through, really just asking what are your projects, how can I help, and also the occasional pep talk, when they're feeling down, when they're unmotivated, really. So it's a good thing, of course, na kami we just started, so people are still hyped, people are still, like really motivated to do things, but also like as president, I also look into, if we go at this rate, if we really go into a really fast pace, people are gonna get burnt out. So I've made it a point to reach out to people once in a while, to take a pause, with amount of work that we're doing. It's really important na you view motivation as, a driving force, not that it just, makes you do more, do better all the time, but also take breaks, be as cliche as it can be one with yourself, be aware of what you're going through. And that's how you know na you're still in the right position, you're still in the right place, and you're heading towards where you want to go and where you want to lead the people that are following you. So, in motivation, when answering the question, how do you motivate your team and how do you improve their performance when it comes to motivation, I think I've added a personal touch to it by just being aware of their experiences, their everyday experiences, and attuning myself to those experiences, and making it a shared one. So, for example, um, I guess a lot of the lower batches and even some officers, they've come up to me and they said na sometimes, like, when I talk to them, they're like amazed, oh my god, the president's talking to me, and I don't want that. Like, I really don't want that, because at the end of the day, we're like just students, we're just here. I'm gonna help you out if you need me. So whenever I experience those, sinasabi ko talaga, oh my gosh, you don't have to feel that way. I'm always here to just listen. You don't even have to like call me ate, just call me by my name. And I think leadership in the grander sense, it's just really about being there. I'm trying to look for the right word. I guess it's accompany. That's the that's the term that I want to use. Accompanying these people to, not do more, but to do their best, to perform in their best, like, and be their best selves, because we have different, we're going in different phases. We have different ways of measuring our success, and it's different every single day, every single week, every single month. So in accompanying these people, that's how you motivate them, and whatever point you are in, wherever you are, I'll be there.
and if you need something,
I think that's a song, ah.
Oh,
Sorry to interrupt. I just had to say that.
it's like that, accompanying.
Yeah.
I'd like to really focus on that word.
Yeah, I'd say there's a guy, his name is Eric Mosley. He has a podcast with Brene Brown. So we keep on also listening to different leaders out there. So his term for the accompanying would be like frequent check-ins, and
Right.
so it's basically just like talk to them, and it doesn't matter what you guys talk about, how you guys are doing. It makes a big difference. And even like Harvard Business Review would have some studies on the more frequent you have check-ins with the people they're leading, the better they actually feel about themselves. The more that they feel belong, the and then of course that would include that would be directly proportional to their performance. And I like the way that you said it, Georgina,
Yeah.
relating it like when we're able to have check-ins with them, then we're gonna know what their best is at that particular time, and to
Yeah.
just encourage them to just give. For example, like of course, like a person has 100% best, but for this day, the 100% will be like
For sure.
10% of his
Yeah.
or her usual, but that's already the best, and it's okay to just give that.
Yeah.
And so
I like
I
that.
thought that was nicely put. So thank you.
Yeah, actually, what Georgina said is exactly what I'm gonna say now. I was thinking,
I
don't
predicted
even,
that.
I don't even have to say anything. She can speak for the both of us. Nice
Nice.
touch nga rin yung song. I was thinking in my head, tama ba yung
No matter where you
Yeah.
are, I'll be there.
ibang song yung nakita ko yung and I'll be there.
Oh,
Be
okay,
my
okay.
friend.
Mas classic ka pala.
Mas classic, mas classic. Kasi naalala ko yung accompaniment, but
Yeah.
actually, motivation, a lot of it comes talaga from companionship. And
Mhm.
one thing that Georgina highlighted, which they also do with me, like they call me Kuya, I feel a little uncomfortable because I'm not that old compared to them.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking about it, and yeah, personally, actually, what I like to do is I send food.
Wow.
So, yeah, currently nga, I do not have that much money, but because a lot of it I'm using to send to people. I
Mhm.
realized that org work, a lot of it is voluntary.
Uh-huh.
So we're not really paid for what we do. But
Right.
one thing that really helps, love language of workers like us in our line of work is food. And maybe it's because it's also my love language, receiving gifts.
Mhm.
Because it makes people know that you're there.
Yep.
But I don't have that much resources, so I would say the messaging thing is the next best thing. If they don't receive
Yeah.
gifts, they receive a message. And
Uh-huh.
I kind of systemized it in a
Mhm.
way. So maybe it takes out the natural flow of things. But what we can do is, even though there's a system, we can like go beyond the system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like Georgina, we also have weekly meetings, and we made it a point. It's a system in our org that all meetings start with a kamustahan. There's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
kamustahan question
Mhm.
or a life update, depending on how much time we have. And we practice that in EB. Sometimes nga our meetings extend past what they're supposed to
I
be
feel
because
that, bro.
kamustahan takes so long. Because our meetings usually 9 to 10 every
Yeah.
Tuesday, 9 to 10 p.m. But there are times at the start we used to extend up until 10:30 because we were talking about
Chi-chi.
anything, yeah, chi under the sun. And it's really nice because it helps you see the people that you're working with as
Mhm.
Yeah.
more than just your coworkers. Like they can actually be friends. And one thing that I always tell the people that I'm leading with is
Mhm.
this is such a unique experience to the point that we're the only ones who can first person point of view say what we've gone through, and
Yeah.
Right.
that's something very special.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings about like intrinsic motivation
Yeah.
from all of us, the fact
Right.
that we want to make the most out of what we have.
Nice.
And we try to cascade that all the way down to our board of officers and our
Right.
department members. I think to put it simply, it can be as simple as just showing that you care a lot about
Mhm.
what you do. It can really change the vibe of
Yeah.
the team that you're a part of.
Galing.
But actually, there's an experience wherein I got feedback na this was when I wasn't president yet.
Yeah.
But when I was leading a team, they said that the vibe that I gave off, parang, it was too intense to the point that they got intimidated by
Uh-huh.
how
Yeah.
the way I do things. But the fact that they were able to say that to me
Yeah.
For sure.
is
Mhm.
something that I am very grateful for, and
That's
it allowed me to take a step back and realize that even though I can sometimes get intense because I want something to succeed, maybe there's something more to success. Like, I
Right.
remember there's like a new quote that my dad was telling me about the other day. He was saying that I think it's more important to have a satisfied life
Mhm.
than a successful life. Because
Mhm.
success is external. There's like quantitative factors, qualitative factors,
Yep.
out of these things that we learn about. But satisfaction is something personal. Something
Right.
that only you can say. And
Right.
yeah, that's something that really drives me, and
Mhm.
something also that I talk about with the people that I accompany on their journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
we ask
Taking
them
the
like, yeah, like, masaya ka ba
Yeah.
sa ginagawa mo?
right.
Like, yun. I don't know if sa current timeline namin, we can afford to take breaks. So the strategy that I have proposed is, instead of telling them that they need to take a break, we're gonna be with them in their journey.
Right.
Mhm.
And we're gonna move forward with that by we made a deployment monitoring tracker,
Wow.
aka we can see it's okay. If without context, it can seem kind of stalker, like a
For
stalker,
sure, for sure.
for sure. But we don't mean it that way. We just want
Yeah.
to know where everyone is
Right.
at every week, so that when we check up on them, at least from afar, we know where they are, and
Yeah.
we know where we can step in. And I think that really means a lot. Well, personally, because if I were to get checked up on,
Yeah.
and then they know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
it shows that they really care. So,
And
yeah.
it's also good, Gab, that you're adjusting. Kasi sometimes, even if our own motivation is not necessary success, I really just want to care for people. But sometimes people find it like, oh, you're too much. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't
Encroaching
handle the
na.
way you care about me. For example, like, for someone in a relationship, like, you're too intense in our relationship. I can't handle that. And then you adjust. So it's good that there's you're also showing some vulnerability on your
Yeah.
end, and then they can actually tell you if something needs to be adjusted. So that's really good.
And not just in the actions, JR, no, but also in the mindset. What Gab said about that exact word, quotable yun eh. Leading a satisfied life. But
Yeah.
before that, he said something about the fact that your success standards are not measured anymore, like but by
Mhm.
quantitative measures, but that mere example of getting them to talk to you, or like getting them to
Yeah.
share their voices or their thoughts with you. That's a big win, but that also needs adjustment on your part, no, on a leader's part. Like it's
Yeah.
hard to transition from your original definition of motivate. How do you want to motivate them, and how you want
Right.
them to, that to affect their performance, and say na, here's where I am right now. Here are my members.
Yeah.
And they're never nothing, there's no such thing as a perfect semester of leadership or a
Yeah,
perfect
for
semester
sure.
for an organization. So I think that's very important that you
And there's a
mentioned that.
fine line because you can't just ignore also the results and the success
Yeah.
either. Because, for example, like if you're leading a team that a thesis, I mean, you gotta pass that. And you have to do well. You need to make your teammates work for it. So you can't ignore that. Uh, but you don't want the relationship building or the caring for people to be
Right.
fake either,
For sure.
just for the sake of that. So yeah, it's an art. You have to navigate it, but
It's
you need to
something
be
you can
true.
balance.
Yeah, but you need
Yeah.
to be real.
For sure.
When it comes to leading your team and handling that area of motivation, because at the end of the day, you need them to work, but it's not also just about work. So how do you do
Yeah.
that? Which I think the guys really shared with us
Yeah.
very good insights. So I'm quite
And
happy.
if I may add towards that point also, just from my own experience as well, I think the value of celebrating your wins together goes a lot towards motivating.
Yep.
Like, what do you think went well, or just simply asking them what
Yeah.
good experiences were had during a particular event, or just in the course of you serving others, and celebrate those. Make sure that they're appreciated. Saying
Yeah.
thank you goes a long way.
Yep.
Definitely saying thank you goes a
Yeah.
long way. But just simply being one with them, celebrating with them, and also Gab and Georgina touched upon being with them also in the hard times where they can't give, where their 100% is different from day to day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
To also add, there's something that you guys said earlier. Individually, kasi, it would be good for us to find out. We actually had a podcast on this, on motivation. So the balance of extrinsic, intrinsic motivation and whatnot. But individually, we need to figure that out and see what motivates them. But corporately, I really like what you guys shared. It's about the positive experience of people being together and being in the team would make a difference. And the same guy, Mosley, was also sharing about the ROI of gratitude in your work
Right.
together. It's really recognizing them, thanking them. He even cited the IBM research on their employees, like saying like something like 83% of those being recognized by their bosses or by the company would say that they have a very positive experience, whereas like for those who, I think only 30 something percent said
Yeah.
na even if they're not recognized, they have a positive work experience. I think that just proves us that it goes a long way when we recognize people and celebrate wins, have check-ins with them. So good. You guys can be IBM top officials. Okay. No, wala tong ano
No cap. No cap. Right.
Saka wala tong sponsorship. But yeah, good. I'm pretty happy that you guys said those things.
So wow, three different areas
Amazing.
we've covered. We covered
Amazing.
pressure, we covered diversity and motivation. And personally, I think there's lots to be learned from the conversation, from the
Oh, well.
experiences. And we don't, I mean, only time is our constraint here. But if we could go on, we would I think we would ramble for hours on end just speaking
We can
about
have them
these
back.
things.
Yeah, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
for sure. But yeah, maybe just to close this or just to ground this before we get some, I don't want to say final words, but final pieces of insights and advice from Georgina and Gab. Since we've covered those three areas already, and the definition, or like taking into consideration organizational culture, I'd like to ask you, JR, like, why are we doing this in the first place? Or like, what do these areas or what do these understanding these areas have to do with the gains of the organization?
Yeah, we talked about good meetings, and we really said there that being able to have a place for everybody would make a big difference in
Yeah.
their meetings, and it will save them a lot of time. But that's just a microcosm of an organization. So imagine if your whole organization would adopt that mindset, and it will be translated to the different areas of their culture. It's gonna make a big difference, and it will
Right.
just boil down to seeing the people as they are, working with them, relating with them, dealing with them. And I think they've said a lot about it, kanina, and I'm so happy that they have that kind of mindset. Our leaders
Yeah.
in the future we have a bright future with these
That's
people. So just having that kind of mindset to give people a space and a place for the organization, not only would make your life well and really nice in the organization, but that's really gonna make an impact to
Yeah.
everybody in the organization, but even in the future, wherever they are, that they're gonna carry that. So
I think one thing that has resonated with me since I started, I guess, my leadership journey is that yun nga, leaders are made, not born. Both for those who want to be leaders and also those who are building other leaders or are contributing to the leadership journey of another person. So, I think I was a frosh when I started realizing this. Leaders are made.
Not born because
Buti ka pa.
I shared earlier that
As I was growing up, I was very assertive. So I thought that it's something innate. But then you get to interact with a lot of people and you see na leaders are really just a mashup of every single person that they've met, every single experience that they've gone through. So for those who are aspiring leaders or who are in leadership positions and have just begun, there's a lot of pressure and it could be overwhelming, but it's something that you just go through. And one advice that I got from one of my mentors is that when you're in a leadership position, you have to smile, not necessarily pretend that everything's okay, but be the rock that everyone will, treat as a foundation. Because when you exude, a leadership, the type of leadership that always smiles, is always there to listen, then your people will be comfortable. The people that you work with will, be think that they're in an environment where they're cared for. And for those naman who are in the process of helping other people become leaders, which I have found myself to be in recently since I started my presidency and my term, is it's it's really important to pass along everything that you've learned, even the difficulties, even the hardships, even all the I guess there's really no negative side, but then there are things that you wish you would not talk about na lang. So, the sleepless nights, like when you can't arrive at a good solution, all those experiences. So, when you're really building up someone or you're helping someone grow, you really have to bear it all out. Like, just present them all of the learnings, the realizations, what they will go through, and most importantly, accompany them wherever they are, whatever point they are in, and always motivate them by listening and by inspiring.
Grabe yun. Ramdam ko yung practice mo sa pagbibigay ng
Okay.
motivational talk. I'm very motivated going into the
Avengers Part
rest
2,
of this
Stephen
day.
Strange.
Yes. But if I may go to my advice, I would say that anyone can be a leader naman. But it is true, leaders are made. So, if you want to think about the type of leader that you want to be, the thing that I think about is lead the way you would like to be led. So if you would not like to follow the person that you are as a leader right now, then maybe you should start like thinking about how you're doing it and adjust from there. And then in addition, leading is a very taxing thing. I think we mentioned a lot. It's a lot about giving yourself up to something bigger than yourself. But you have to realize that you should still be yourself and not lose your identity as a person and who you are, because you can only give what you have. So important talaga na we should take breaks, have a life outside of being a leader. Something that I am currently working on myself in my personal journey of being a leader. And I guess finally I would say that it doesn't hurt to be kind. Being a leader or not, there's no, I haven't heard anything bad about being a kind person, and I'd argue that the world will love to accept more kind people
Yep.
in this world. So yeah, that's for me.
I could see that you're a
Hearing
very
those from
kind
both-
person.
Thank you.
For
thank
sure,
you.
for sure. Yeah, I just wanted to say, hearing those from Georgina and Gab, I'm already inspired to lead. When's my next meeting? Let's do this.
Let's
just
go.
kidding. But
Let's
anyways,
do this.
yeah, I'd like to sincerely thank Georgina and Gab for a great conversation. Um, yeah, for the insights they've shared. I mean, I think it's worth talking
Galing.
about this on a regular basis, with people around us. So
Not with
yeah,
them.
thank you so much.
Not have a podcast with them. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't do that on a regular basis. But yeah, with the people around us, for sure. So yeah, thank you very much again to Georgina and Gab for being here, for taking the time. I myself have learned a lot from you guys, and yeah, I hope we can continue doing these in our organizations, continue to accompany people as we lead them forward. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, JR. It's nice to learn about the insights of another leader from the rival school.
We're back towards that.
Galing. Again, thank you guys. So, good luck and God bless on your
For sure.
projects and the things that you guys need to do in your organizations.
Got a bright whole year ahead of us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is such an inspiring two-part series, building your team up. You know, we could talk about a lot of concepts on dealing with pressure, handling diversity, and boosting team morale. But you know, at times, it's just good for us to hear stories knowing that we are not alone. That there are also fellow leaders facing the same things as you are. But still, a lot of great insights from our friends Georgina and Gab. So catch those at our show notes if you want to learn more.
As always, we're glad to have you with us as we discuss valuable insights on student leadership. Expect more timely, exciting, and relevant topics to come, so make sure to subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube and catch us wherever you may get your podcast. Once again, we are Aaron and JR, and this has been Ain't a Boss, the only leadership podcast for highly stressed out students. Bye!